Hello, welcome everyone to today's presentation. We are about to get started, so welcome.
More than 5 billion people around the world continue to struggle with money and financial illiteracy.
It's Madison Avenue manipulation, right? It's been going on for years and we buy into it.
How bad is financial illiteracy?
It's not taught in school, so people don't know this naturally.
Oh, you're right.
So you grow up not knowing anything about it. You make a lot of mistakes along the way, and we're hoping to educate them and teach them how money really works so they can learn the cause and effect of all this.
And it doesn't have to be generational.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly right.
Break that cycle.
Once you understand the basics of financial literacy, it changes your life. The secret is financial literacy. I mean, teaching your kids how money works.
I think it's really understanding how money works.
Once they understand the basics of how money works, they shouldn't have to struggle for very long.
Steve Siebold and Tom Matthews are the authors of How Money Works. Stop being a sucker.
Money means possibility. It means opportunity. It means freedom. Things you've always wanted to do, dreams that you have. Money makes it possible.
You know, of all the interviews we've had in the last 6 weeks, I'm actually most encouraged by that one.
So welcome again, everyone. We are sharing this meeting across multiple platforms. So I am happy to have you joining me this afternoon. My name is Shantae Moore, and I will be your financial educator for the next half hour. I'd like to welcome you again to the How Money Works Elements educational series that's taught today on Zoom. And again, as I mentioned, different platforms. This course is based on the groundbreaking book, How Money Works, Stop Being a Sucker, now with over 500,000 copies in print. And How Money Works is the first financial education book that anyone at any age can enjoy and benefit from, literally from age 10 all the way to age 100. And speaking of the number 100, the book has now been featured on over 100 prominent TV shows, including CNBC, CBS, ABC, and Fox. The How Money Works book has received a rare endorsement from the Heartland Institute of Financial Education, which is a national nonprofit that promotes financial literacy in the workplace. And the How Money Works book has been reviewed and referenced all over the internet, including the popular online financial publication Make It by CNBC. So you can also follow How Money Works on Instagram for practical tips and helpful resources. And if you have not got a copy of this book yet, just let me know when I finish and I will make sure to get you one. So for our class this afternoon, it is the fourth of 5 elements titled LongTerm. And just as a reminder, once you complete all 5 elements, you will be eligible for a certificate of completion that will be signed by the authors of the book and by myself. So the most exciting, this is probably one of the most exciting of the 5 classes. And I'm happy that we're sharing it for last, and that's just this month. Because LongTerm is all about your future. And today you're going to learn techniques used by the wealthy to create financial independence, and you'll learn how to protect your wealth as a legacy for your family. So we're beginning today's class with number 6 of the 6 money milestones. 6 is a big one, and it's really exciting. You know, you see it here, building wealth. Why? Because this milestone is really where your results will appear when it comes to your finances. This is where you avoid the impact of taxes, losses, and inflation. And this is where you have to do your best to accumulate and grow your net wealth. So something to consider is that with the possibility of longevity really adding so many years to our lives, that really does bring up one question, which is, will your wealth last as long as you do? Especially with as many medical advances that we have, people are living a lot longer in life. So you need more financial resources to maintain you in your expected, long time to live. And that's a question that you definitely have to answer when it comes to building your wealth. So according to a recent study, 63% of people have a greater fear of running out of money in retirement over dying. And that is a real threat in light of what we're dealing with, and especially in this statistic. For retirement age couples, there's actually a 50% chance that one spouse will live past age 95. And here's the crux of milestone 6. It really doesn't matter what stage of life you're in, whether you're a millennial, a generation, a Gen Xer, a baby boomer, you have to start building wealth now. Put it another way, yesterday is better than tomorrow. So as you embark on wealth building, there are 4 principles to help you stay on track and not lose any ground. And I want you to look at those with me. We'll go through them, these 4 here, which are save regularly and don't touch it. Review your goals and then make adjustments as you need over time. So in addition to that, there are 4 threats that every wealth builder must conquer. And think of these as your wealth building enemies, because each one of these can come from you at a different direction at any given time. So to beat them, we'll just have to address them individually. And I just want to start with the worst one, which is procrastination. As the quote says here, procrastination can be, hands down, our favorite form of self-sabotage. So I want to talk then next about the market losses, inflation, and then, of course, taxes, our favorite Uncle Sam. So when it comes to procrastination, it is the enemy of saving money and investing, because it just basically describes inaction. You're not taking any action. And the best way to overcome procrastination is actually prioritization. You simply move the 5 actions to overcome financial procrastination to the top of your to-do list. Flag them as urgent and get started on them immediately. And then you never get that lost time back. So it's an asset that we all have in so many ways. So stop doing that. Stop doing that today. And inflation is also known as the tax of time. The annual inflation rate right about now has been averaging at about 2.8% over the last 100 years. So, when you think about it, ask yourself, can you really guess how many years it takes for the cost of goods to double at a steady 2.8%, annual inflation rate? So if you want to get a hint, just remember from the concepts class, if you joined that class in the series where we talked about the rule of 72, here you can actually put that rule of 72 to work. And basically to determine, well, how long will the cost of living take? How long will it take for the cost of living to double? You take the current inflation rate, which is 2.8%, and divide that into 72. And the answer is almost 26 years. And one of the essential reasons to build wealth using the power of compound interest is to stay ahead of inflation. Is when you know that this enemy, this inflation, it is slowly draining away the value of our savings accounts because the cost of living is rising. So that is something that you should even be more considerate of when you're putting together your financial strategy. And don't be scared of inflation. This is something that I work with our clients on to help them understand no matter what, we have to beat inflation when it comes to, are we growing our money and what interest rate are we earning on that money? So the next enemy to wealth building is the impact of losses, which is often underestimated. A lot of people really don't understand how losses, especially I'm talking about referring to like if you had investments that are tied to the stock market or invested in the stock market. This is really a threat that can completely wreck any savings goals that you have, or if you're already retired, it really will make you, it'll force you to adjust your lifestyle in retirement if you're living off of money that you have invested. So on the screen, here's a simple picture that illustrates how people miscalculate the impact of losses. So if you were to lose 50% of your investment, which happened twice in the stock market in the last 20 years, what percentage do you think that you would need to gain back so that you can get back to 100%? Most people think that the answer is 50%. They're like, well, Shantae, I lost 50%, so I need to make back 50%. Well, as you can see, that's actually not right, because to make back 50%, it actually takes 100% gain just to get back even. And that's not easy to do. Where do we see 100% gain on, money or investment? So that's why it's important that if you're investing money, whether it's in the stock market or whatever account you choose, that you also have to figure out how to protect it. So this is probably Warren Buffett. He famously talked about investing. He said his number one rule for investing is rule number one: you never lose money. And then rule number two is never forget about rule number one. So I'm telling you to stop, not lose your money. So what do you do to prevent those losses? So first, you have to look at every single option that's out there to reduce any risk. So remember, risk is the opportunity for you to lose money however you're saving it. Second, you really want to consider how best to diversify your portfolio. And diversification is not having an account at several different places. I have some clients, when I first started working with them, they're like, yeah, I have an account open at this bank, and I have an account open here, and I have an account open there. That's not diversification. When we're talking about diversification, it's actually what type of investments you're in, what type of accounts you're in. And it's not necessarily having accounts all over the place. Think of it as like watching your children in the backyard. Do you want them all in one backyard, or do you want them in your neighbor's yard and the person down the street yard? You want to have a good eye on all of your money. So it's okay to have your money in one place as long as it's a diversified portfolio. And third, you want to utilize the right financial vehicles for your financial situation. And for me, this is something that I help a lot of people with, because I see a lot of individuals, they're trying to save money. They're opening up accounts on their own. And sometimes those aren't the best financial vehicles, or they're really not suitable for the goals that they're trying to accomplish. So that's something that I help people to determine what financial vehicles even make sense for you. So remember, don't procrastinate. You have to factor in inflation to your savings and your whatever you're doing to grow your wealth. And most importantly, talk with a financial professional about these things, because a financial professional will help you to reduce or remove the impact of losses completely from your strategy. And the last thing that I want to talk about was the impact of taxes, because this is probably, I would say, in addition to the losses, I would say 9 times out of 10, when people are saving and investing their money, they do not factor in taxes and how that'll actually affect them. And the reality is nobody likes paying taxes, especially when you're about to retire. So the tax strategy that you put in place today with, however you're saving your money, that strategy that you're doing now will determine how much money you can keep in the future. It'll also determine how much money you have to pay to the government, and then ultimately how much money you're able to leave for your kids. So understanding how financial vehicles, if you have a certain investment account, you have to know how that account is taxed. They are all taxed very differently. So you want to have an understanding of those things so that you can make strategic decisions that will give you the greatest tax benefit in the future down the road. So let me just kind of talk about that a little more, because it's so important. Let's say, for example, if you were to save $10,000 at age 29 and you earn a 9% annual return each year. And what that means is that you would have $250,000 when you reach 65. So I want you to take a moment to think like a farmer. Would you rather pay taxes on the seed, which is just that $10,000? Or would you rather pay taxes on the harvest, which is the $250,000? Of course, we want to pay taxes on whichever amount is smaller, because that's what you start with. A farmer would rather pay taxes on the seed, not the harvest. So an investor should rather pay taxes on the money before it grows, not after it grows. And just think about wherever you are with your current financial situation, which one applies to you. And again, it just really depends on the financial vehicle that you choose, the investment account that you choose. And again, this is where a financial professional can really help you. So when you sit down with a financial professional, again, we're going to look at how you're currently being taxed, because I have a lot of people who come to me, they have accounts that they already have. And I educate them about, okay, if your money's here, this is how it is being taxed or how it will be taxed. And then we help to sit down and look at, well, is there anything that we can change? Can we better our opportunity to minimize taxes for the future? And, we lay out a new strategy for you going forward. So on these pictures, as I go through the next couple of slides, I want you to pay attention to the colors, because the colors of the icons will matter. Red represents a tax now account, which means that every single year, if you earn interest or dividends on that account, on that money that's growing, you pay taxes on that growth every single year. So that's what the red means. The yellow is tax later. We call these tax deferred accounts, which means that while that money is growing, where it's investing, whatever it is, while it's growing, you're not paying taxes. Your taxes are actually deferred until later. And generally that time is later in retirement, when most of those type of accounts, you really can't touch them until you're like 59 and a half. It depends, but that's the general. And then green are your tax never accounts. So we call these tax free or tax advantaged accounts. So I'll show you some examples of those as well. So as I go through these next couple of screens, I just want you to think about wherever you're saving your money, which icon, is it red, is it yellow, is it green? Does it fall under which category? So you can get an idea of how you're currently being taxed. Because if you know now, then you'll at least know how you'll be taxed in the future, and you can make decisions to change or leave things as is. So green, like I mentioned, that's the color of money and growth. It's also our color, like I said, for the tax never. And different types of accounts can be taxed completely different. So green, again, it means no tax at all. Are any of these vehicles something that you're currently using, whether it's a government bond, Roth IRAs, permanent life insurance? Now, again, I'm not making any recommendations because every person's situation is different, but these are some very popular accounts that you can invest and save money into without having to pay taxes. So again, this is where you want to sit down with a professional, financial professional, who will help you choose the right products for you. So the boxer Mike Tyson said that everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. So, and I also heard that he's thinking about coming out of retirement. He's in his 50s now, and he hasn't boxed in like 15 years, I believe. So maybe he should listen to his own words. Because the best way to avoid running out of money in retirement is by not putting yourself in a position for that to happen to you. So again, we want to be strategic about your money, and we don't want you to get punched in the mouth. I don't want you to lose money to taxes or inflation or some of these other things that I just talked about. But in a recent Gallup survey, 85% of non-retired American investors strongly agree that they would prefer to have some type of guaranteed income stream in retirement in addition to Social Security. They said that was actually critical. Guaranteed income can help you avoid the risk of running out of money in retirement. So for example, if you have a pension that's available to you through your workplace, that's technically guaranteed. If you would see me, I'm doing air quotes. That's supposed to be a source of income that your employer pays out you to the rest of your life. I'm saying technically because sometimes that doesn't happen, depending on who you work for. I have seen pensions where people, they work 20, 30 years with an employer, and they were owed, $5,000, $6,000 a month. And because the company's pension was not properly funded, they didn't get that money. So, and we don't see pensions anymore. I just wanted to give you an example of that. Pensions are very, very, very rare nowadays. But anyway, when we talk about a reliable retirement income, there's really three components to it. And I recommend that you consider all of them. Number one, you want something where you can maintain growth for potential by participating in the upside opportunities tied to the stock market. You have to have your money somewhere that it can still grow. A lot of people, sometimes people have this idea that, oh, I'm about to retire. I'm pulling out all my money right now. No, you would just pull out a little bit to live off of over time, because the rest of that money should still be growing for you. That's how it's going to maintain income for you in the future. And you want to maintain that growth in an account that can actually grow. The second component is to reduce or remove the potential for losses. So again, I talked about that a couple of screens ago, because you really, especially as you get close to retirement, you really want to try and eliminate and really mitigate the downside risk by investing in the stock market as much as possible. Now, there are some ways that you can, grow your money and take off the risk of losing it all in the future. So if that's something you're interested in, talk to me about it. I'm very high level today because we don't make recommendations in these presentations. And the third component is creating a predictable income that will last a lifetime. So you have to think, how can I take my money, whatever I've saved and accumulated thus far, what can I do to actually create an income stream for me for life that I can actually rely on? So let's kind of look at that, just kind of close that gap for you a little bit. Because at the end of the day, you really just want to make sure that you have enough money saved for retirement. I tell people all the time, retirement is not an age, it's money. If you had enough money in the bank tomorrow, you would retire tomorrow, regardless of how old you are. So the best way to successfully retire is you have to have different streams of income. So for example, this person will have a reliable income because not only did they save the amount necessary, they actually got the interest rate that was necessary to reach that goal, and to make sure that they had enough for retirement. So a lot of this factors in you working with someone who can tell you, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Client, if this is your lifestyle that you want to have, this is how much money you need in retirement coming in on a monthly basis. So that might include Social Security, that might be a portion of it, reliable income, which will have predictable income from savings. And then you probably have your own personal savings, whether that's something in like a life insurance plan and having some cash value accumulate, or personal savings, even through your workplace retirement accounts, like where you have your 401k or 403b, whoever you work for. But again, you want to sit down with a financial professional to help you figure out what your income streams should be, and then what those numbers actually need to be. So my overall message for this slide is, don't just rely on Social Security. Don't just rely on whatever's in your 401k. You have to know what those numbers are, because it might not be enough. And that's the reality. So, and the last milestone that we talk about is protecting your wealth, which is by creating a will and guarding your legacy. And this is something that even rich people don't do. So for example, here, Prince and Aretha Franklin, very well-known, multi-millionaire, very well-established musicians, amazing musical careers. And both of them who just died, a few years ago. When Prince died in 2016, Aretha Franklin died in 2018. And obviously they both had very sizable estates. But the one thing that both of them neither had was an estate plan. Both left their families and business partners with an emotional, financial, and legal mess that is still taking years to sort out. Right now, their families are still in court trying to rectify the estates for both of these individuals. So it really just shows you how important it is to protect your wealth with an estate plan. And according to a Rocket Law survey, 64% of Americans do not have a will. And not surprisingly, that number is actually higher for young Americans, where 70% of those who are aged 45 to 54, they don't have a will. And then for older Americans who are aged 55 to 64, 54% of them do not have a will. Prince, he was only 57. So your estate plan is how you protect your wealth. It's how you protect your family, and it's how you protect your legacy when you die, or if you become incapacitated, because an estate plan does not come into effect just because you passed away. If you were incapacitated, meaning, let's say you're in a coma, you're alive, you just can't make decisions for yourself, or you have dementia, or Alzheimer's disease. This is where an estate plan would also be essential as well, because those wishes and decisions that you want, you can write in advance how you want those decisions to be made and to be carried out. So in your wealth plan, it's not just, number one, it's not just for the wealthy people. Again, just understand it's how you protect your wealth, your family, and your legacy. It's a set of documents. Estate plan are legal documents, including your will, where your loved ones, they have your wishes in writing. So they know in advance if something were to happen to you in various different scenarios, they know what your decisions are. And these are legal documents, so they have to be followed. So I want to just talk about those 4 documents. I mean, there's more than 4, but I want to talk about the 4 most important ones that your estate plan should include. First, you will need a will. And the will identifies, if you have minor children, it identifies who will be the guardian of your minor or special needs children. It also will identify an executive of your estate, which is the person who will carry out your wishes. And then it also gives direction for how you want your property to be distributed. So, just real quick, a will basically says if I have all my TVs in my house, I want it to go to my child. If I have my car, I want it to go to this person, and that's if it's paid off. If I have, think of those tangible those objects. That's what you really want to write in your will, or even a cash amount. I want $1,000 to go to this person. That's where your will actually come in and help you to dictate those wishes. You'll also need a financial power of attorney. So this is someone who will be able to control your financial affairs, like paying your bills, selling your property, or cashing checks. And these actually come into effect when you're not able to do it for yourself. You also want an advanced healthcare directive or a living will. I'm in the state of Illinois, so the state of Illinois actually has a living will. This is not like a normal will. The first will that's listed, I would call it a simple will. The living will actually identifies your end of life healthcare decisions. So, for example, like in today's world with COVID, a lot of people are being intubated and put on ventilators, and all these drastic measures are being taken to help them live. And apologize in advance if I'm triggering or if anyone feels offended. But for example, if you're in a coma and you can't breathe, and a living will would be a written document to where your loved ones and doctors would know what type of medical treatment you would want to receive when you can't choose them for yourself. It's a very unique document, and a lot of people don't even talk about it. And then the last document would be a HIPAA release form. So again, this would allow your healthcare agent to access your medical records or insurance information so that they can help you with your medical treatment. So this is something that your legal professional can help you put all of these things in place and more. If you're interested in learning more, I can definitely help you. I work with a couple companies who help my clients complete these on their own. So really, when you have your estate plan, it's just documents in place to help you make your decisions for yourself. And really, it keeps the government out of making those decisions for you. You do not want, the government deciding who gets your property, who takes care of your children. And when that happens, when people don't have a will, that process of a court administering those decisions and administering an estate in accordance with state laws, that's called probate. And nobody really wants to go through probate if they don't have to. So a lot of times having an estate plan will, it may help with that probate process, or it can actually avoid it altogether. And that's where a trust comes into mind, because you can also help your family and business partners avoid, unnecessary expenses and delays in the probate process by having a trust. Because a trust, they can really do a lot of things for you. I work with my clients to help them establish trust all the time. Or again, work with your legal professional. I'm not a lawyer, or you can work with a legal professional. They could give you the best advice when it comes to trust. But I really love trust because they are in a separate entity established outside of you. And they can own your assets, and they can also dictate what happens to your assets and things when you're not here to do it. And while you're alive, you can transfer assets into your trust name. And why is this beneficial? Well, because it can protect you in really a lot of ways, to where you own nothing, but you control everything that's in the trust. You know, you have privacy, you manage your property. Multiple states, you completely avoid probate, and it can definitely help with taxes. But so again, that's something you want to talk with a legal professional. I have quite a few resources if you're interested in learning about that. I can share those with you. But do please keep in mind that some assets actually can pass directly on to your beneficiaries. If you have a beneficiary designation on any of your accounts, on any of your insurance policies, annuities, all these things listed here, those actually are the best and quickest way to transfer money to someone. It doesn't even matter if you have a will or a trust. If you have a beneficiary designated, that supersedes all of those other documents. In some bank and investment accounts, they allow you, most of them will allow you to add a beneficiary, because again, if something happened to you, that those monies go directly to those people. They do not go through a court or anything like that. And if you have a joint account with someone, that joint owner those assets would generally pass on to them, depending on how that joint account was established. So, as I go through this, if you're thinking like, wow, that's a lot of stuff, Shantae, don't worry. First of all, it's not that expensive, and it's really not that time consuming, because once you get it done, it's done. That's the one thing I tell people. It's, you don't have to deal with it generally unless you have to make some major updates or something. But, just consider that the time that you will really save your loved ones down the road. I can't tell you how many families I sit with who are, trying to go through every piece of paper that someone had, because this information was never listed somewhere, and they just didn't know what decisions to do or what decisions to make. And the truth is, when it comes to putting together your estate plan, like I keep saying, there's a lot of options where you can work with a legal professional. I mean, I have a couple of resources, and they're very, very budget friendly. So I always tell people, this is something that you do not want to avoid. You want to put this milestone in place right away. So I have a couple of screens to wrap up. Kind of ending this particular session today, but I do want to share some more resources with you. And I know when when we go through these different classes, there's always questions that come up, like the ones that you see here on the screen. And this is where a financial professional, again, I harp on this, because you don't really want to do this stuff alone. Get some professional guidance. A financial professional can help you answer questions like these and any others that you have. I can discuss these with you if you do not already have one that you're currently working with, or if you need help choosing someone, because sharing financial literacy and educating, that is what I do. And I'm also a licensed financial professional. So again, you can contact me however you connected to this presentation, and I'll be happy to talk to you about that. I do want to share how my company helps folks, because our mission is to teach 20 million families how money works over the next decade. We absolutely believe that we're going to stamp out financial literacy and illiteracy in every community. And we're always looking for how money works educators. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know. We're always looking for people to help us teach classes just like this. So if you or someone is interested, do let me know. And some people say, well, how do you help folks? Well, I want you to just, as you think about what we talked about today in the presentation, really just sit and think about what concept resonated the most with you. Because again, I want to, I hope that you're learning something, and that, it's accomplishing our mission of eradicating financial literacy. And our goal is to help people take control of their finances. And the first way that we do that is by completing and giving you this money discovery worksheet that you could complete on your own. So part of attending this course, again, is that if you don't have a financial professional, you can work with me directly. Our company, we do not charge a fee for our services whatsoever. And we help you go through basically a financial planning process. The first part of that is where we have a quick phone call, maybe 15, 30 minutes, where I would get to learn about you, what your goals are. And then we talk about this money discovery worksheet to really just see, you know, where are you right now? And then where do you want to go when it comes to your financial resources? If you already have the How Money Works Discovery book, this is actually in the back of the book. Or if you don't have the book, again, reach out to me. I'll be happy to get you a free copy of the book, but I can also email you a PDF version of this worksheet. So again, if you don't have a financial professional, just definitely let me know, because above anything else, we just don't want you procrastinating. You know, really take this stuff that you learn and start to put your money to work today. Because the first step of the 7 money milestones and the How Money Works book is getting your financial education. So hopefully you've actually read the book. You know, you're really starting to think about these different things on these different classes that I've been teaching, and, you know, work with myself or any other financial professional to help walk you through those other 6 milestones. Let me see. I have one more screen because I'm a little over time. I want to wrap up real quickly. Okay. My last screen is that, you know, if you really like what you learned this afternoon and you would like more information, you should have access to my website, or my contact information is here on the screen. You can also follow How Money Works again on Instagram at How Money Works Official, where you can get more practical tips and resources. For the month of March, I will be doing a whole nother series. I think I'll be doing either 7 or 8 workshops throughout the month of March. So if you signed up for this class, I already have your email address, and I will be emailing you my next set of workshops to teach, again, this whole Elements course, in case you might have missed any of the ones from earlier in February. So other than that, thank you for attending this afternoon. Again, contact me. The email is the best way to reach out to me, and I look forward to connecting with you all. All right, have a good afternoon. Bye now.